Welcome, everyone. My name is Emily Brungard. I am on the cast iron team. I work on the marketing team here, and I am really pumped to welcome Laura on a very important topic, kind of using your network as a great business tool for you. Um, I have worked at cast iron for a little over 2 years now, and really have seen the importance of having a plan and having real ideas when it comes to marketing your business. That's really the only way that you can grow your business. So that's why I think this whole session, this series that we have with Laura, is so important. And every month we do this, I learn something, even as someone who's been doing this for years and years. So Laura, thank you for joining us. I'll kick it over to you to introduce yourself and get us going.
Thank you for having me, Emily. And like you said, this has been a really fun, really informative series that we've started with Cast Iron and myself, and really kind of helping people interpret the whole mysterious world of Instagram and social media and why we should be using it and how we should be using it. And like you said, there's so many ways to market our business these days. These tools are accessible to us, they're free, they're right with us all the time on our phone. And, in my kind of view as someone who's been in business for a couple of years now, so just to I'll introduce who I am in the presentation, but I actually run my own cottage food bakery from my home. I sell custom cookies. So I'm someone that's doing the social media thing, but I'm also in the business thing. I'm making cookies, decorating them, marketing my business, trying to network myself. There's a million ways to network, right? You can spend $100,000 going to MBA school to learn how to network. But what we're going to talk about today specifically is how to network on social media, how to utilize social media to network for your business, make more money, sell more products, get your name out there. So I'm going to share my screen because I have a couple slides, and I'm hoping that this will not just be super high level for everyone, that this will actually be like you can take some pictures of the screen and really have some information to take home with you. So just a little bit about myself. Like I said, I'm a cookie artist. I'm a cottage food baker. I sell and make cookies from my home. And I'm also a content creator. So I've really tapped into that social media world where I can make content from what I'm doing with my art and monetize that as well. So on Instagram, I have 101,000 followers, Facebook 72,000 followers, and TikTok 40,000 followers. So we call it our Improve Your Instagram series because we mainly focus on Instagram. I find that Instagram, for me personally, has been a huge way for me to garner business, especially with my local community. So for that, we tend to focus a little bit more on the Instagram side, but don't sleep on Facebook, people. Facebook is great too. There's a lot of people on Facebook, but first we're going to talk about why networking. Why is it important to network in the business that we're in as food entrepreneurs? The first reason why we need to network is we need to have a community. Community helps us in so many ways, which we're going to talk about in a moment, but the great thing about Instagram is it's full of niche communities. So what does niche mean? Niche means what is it that you do and where do you fit in with kind of your product. So for me, I make cookies, but I would consider myself to be in not just the cookie decorating niche, but also the baking niche as a whole. So baking is kind of cookies, cakes, treats, all of those things, people that are using their hands to create food products and decorate them in a way that's appealing to people. But your niche may be something different. Your niche may be meal prep service. Your niche may be personal chef services. So your niche is reflective of the product you make, but also the community that you want to be a part of. Networking is also really helpful in us gaining access to that third-party validation, which is such an important and powerful marketing tool for our business. We can take the best pictures, make the best product, be the most premier service available. But if we don't have somebody else that's trusted in the community and already established in the community, kind of backing us and saying, hey, this is a really good person that you should buy from, that is worth its weight in gold when it comes to marketing. Networking also provides us with a community of support. And that takes time. It takes time to develop those relationships. It takes time. And it's never like, you never get to a point where you're finished networking. So, having that community around you of other entrepreneurs, um, it's like all of a sudden you're not alone, right? Because what's great about what we do is we get to work for ourselves. We get to decide when and how much we work, but at the same time, it can be quite lonely. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. So having a network of support, people really do want to support you. And so it's just kind of about finding those people and also having that relationship of reciprocity with, helping each other and how to do that. So I'm really excited to show you guys how to actually do that. So when we think about who our network is, I like to put it in a few different buckets. So the first bucket is your niche community, what I was just referring to as far as who are the other bakers in my world on Instagram. So if you're a baker, your network are other bakers who are active on social media. So again, I'm not saying that you cannot associate yourself with someone who's not on social media, because certainly there may be people that are super established in their business. They've been around a long time. They have developed a strong customer base through word of mouth. But social media is in 2023 the modality that you need to be on in order to have a successful business that is growing and thriving and continues to be something that people are seeking out. As an example, I was at a 1-year-old's birthday party yesterday. It was at a adorable place here that is just like you walk in and everything is out of Pinterest. And one of my girlfriends that I was just there with my kids having fun. I wasn't there for business, but one of my girlfriends is so sweet. She was talking to the owner of the place and saying, oh, my friend does cookies. You should, connect with her and, figure out how to get her cookies in here. Her cookies would be beautiful in here. And of course, I was standing right there and kind of like rolling my eyes and kind of acting all shy. But what was great was it was once again a testament to how people think right now. So as the manager of that business, her first question to me was, do you have an Instagram? And I love when people ask me that, because I worked so hard to build up my reputation on Instagram. It's how I present myself to the world. And the fact that I get to share that as my first line instead of like, oh, what's your email or what's your website? That is like my most impressive business card, is giving someone my Instagram. And she had her phone right there with her, so she was able to look me up. And of course, the first thing she says is, oh my gosh, your Instagram is beautiful. Like it just gives that first impression of, wow, like you're actually somebody on Instagram and you're someone who posts often, you're active. So when you think about your network on social media, I want you to be kind of choosy about people that actively post, people that actively comment, actively engage, because those are going to be people that are an active part of building your business and an active part of building those relationships, because relationships are a two-way street. You can't just have a one-way relationship. So when you think about the people on social media that you want to connect with, I don't want you to really limit yourself to where you live. I want you to reach out, find out who are the people that are on here that are, if you're a baker, you can see who I follow. And, I have 100,000 followers on Instagram, but I follow, I think, about 200 people. So I want you to be really choosy about who you follow on here. I don't want you following friends and family. I know that sounds really harsh. I'll give you one. If you want to follow your husband or your partner or your mom or whoever it is. But I want you to really, your following should be your community, right? So I don't want you to do the follow for follow thing. I don't want you to just, look up a bunch of people and follow them. I want you to be really choosy about who you follow and let it happen over time, right? So what we're looking for is the commonality of, is what they're doing in line with what I'm doing? And again, it doesn't have to necessarily be only bakers. Like, I'm connected to other people that are creatives, that are content creators, because that's also what I do. So really let let it kind of be an expansive thing for you. Don't let it limit, but quality over quantity here. So these are the people that are going to be in our corner. These are the people that we're going to be able to learn from. These are the people that we're going to be able to emulate. You know, they've been successful. We're going to not copy what they're doing, but we're going to let them be examples to us. And the last point is building and maintaining a strong network of niche colleagues, people that are doing what you're doing. It gives us kind of a seat at the table. So ideally, you know, the point of all of this is so that we can get to a place where we're helping other people. So I built my network over, you know, let's say the course of a year. I went from 400 followers when I first started that were just my friends and family. And then I slowly over time built up a real community on this platform of people that I honestly consider as some of my closest friends. And they're not necessarily bringing me business, but they're giving me a seat at that table within the community where, you know, I can be well known. I can be someone who is just someone you think of when it comes to your community. So that's your social media niche community. Secondly, if you're someone that sells locally, sells a product locally, you really need to network with your local community, and you can use social media in order to do so. So for me, I'm a baker. My local community may consist of party and wedding planners or venues. A lot of these planners and venues have vendor lists, and my goal is to get my cookies at their events, so I want to be on their vendor list. Cooking schools are venues that host classes, event spaces, or venues for pop-ups. A lot of places have like holiday markets or things like that, and they're constantly looking for vendors to participate. Farmers markets, of course. Actual brick and mortar bakeries are great because a lot of times they don't do specialty things like what I do. So they want to be able to have a list of people that they will refer out to. I actually got reached out to by a local market that does a lot of wedding baskets, like welcome baskets. And they said, we would love to add you to our vendor list for custom cookies. And so, you know, all of a sudden it's a win-win for both sides. So in that particular case, I didn't have to reach out to them. They reached out to me, but it kind of opened my eyes to, wow, there really are other businesses that I wouldn't think like would need my services as an independent person, but it really does work that way. And so my whole thing is you have nothing to lose by connecting with these people. And the last point, which I cannot stress highly enough, is your network should be other people that are doing the same thing as you in your community. So a lot of folks think, oh, they're my competition. You know, there are other people that do exactly what I do that live around the corner from me. But instead, I look at it as community versus competition, because they've sent me business and I've sent them business. Because guess what? I can't make cookies for all of Atlanta, and they can't make cookies for all of Atlanta. I might need to take some time off because I'm doing other things. I give them business. They're going to scratch my back. I'll scratch yours. So it's a great, great thing to be able to network, not just for business, but also for just to have that support. Or, you know, maybe an opportunity will come along that they can't fulfill and that makes more sense for your business. Or maybe you go into business together. I don't know. It just, the possibilities are endless. And so having those relationships in place will help you, maybe not immediately, but they will be in place so that that seed can be planted and can grow later on. If you sell outside of your local community, if you're able to ship or to maybe open a store in another location. You may need to consider a larger marketing budget for building those networks. But I will say social media is the perfect market research opportunity for you to discover who to target, because you can very clearly see on social media who is active and who's not. Again, someone may have the same amount of followers as me, but if they're not actively posting, they're not actively engaged. So sending them a DM is going to go on red, right? So do a little bit of research. Instagram is a search engine, so you can search for, bakeries in Texas or wedding venues in tech. Like, there's so many different, like, whatever your niche is, you can search for it on Instagram. See who those people are following. If you need to target influencers within a certain community, if you want to get your products in the hands of influencers, they're on social media all the time. Use their network in order to see who they're following. So let Instagram be your modality for doing your market research, targeting locations, finding opportunities to network in person and virtually with businesses that can put you on a vendor list or referral list for their customers. Think about, again, I'm just planting some seeds with you guys. Prioritize some in-person opportunities. I know it is expensive to travel, but travel is back. And people are fatigued from the virtual world of connecting, and being there face to face will always mean the most and give the most impact. So just food for thought, but let Instagram be your guide when it comes to who to network with. How to network. So the 3 C's: confidence, compliment, and comment. Instagram networking, it's kind of like dating. You kind of start by like flirting a little bit, giving a compliment or two, expressing some interest, some curiosity. It can feel a little bit awkward, but if you have the confidence and, maybe fake it till you make it a little bit. Don't feel like, oh my gosh, they're going to see that I only have like 100 followers. I don't care how many followers a person has. If they are genuine and don't give me like just some generic, hey, like, I love your page. Oh my gosh, I want to be just like you. Or like, how did you get so successful? Questions like that are going to go unanswered, or I just don't have the like mental capacity. But if you ask me a specific question, like, oh my gosh, I would love to learn more about how you put your reels together. Do you have like a guide or something I could purchase? Or like, I've seen you do webinars before. Do you have a webinar link you could send me? Like something like that. I will absolutely engage with that person, because that person is presenting me with, hey, they know who I am, they appreciate what I do, and they want my help in a meaningful way that I can provide to them pretty seamlessly. And honestly, I offer individual consultations. They are virtual, but that's more so I can reach everybody no matter where they live. But that has become meaningful because it's someone that's telling me, hey, I'm willing to put some dollars and cents towards meaningful time that I can get with you to ask you questions, practice my cookie decorating, figure out this business stuff that I just am so confused about. And again, someone that's willing to do that is it truly investing in their own self. And I appreciate that. And, by me charging for that service, I'm also saying, hey, I'm taking this really seriously. I'm going to spend my precious minutes and hours with you, helping you. And so I'm not saying you have to do something like that, but it's just an example of be meaningful in how you network. Don't just kind of throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. Be really specific with your requests, and also with your feedback to the person. So let me give you some examples in the next slide. So in the next slides, I'm going to go over some exercises, what it actually means to social network. So the first is with your niche colleagues. So people that do what you do. And so for me, it would be people that have custom cookie businesses that create content. So content creators surrounding the baking world. It can be cookies, it can be cakes, other things like that, treats. Following and consistently engaging with content is so important. Following is not enough because these people, if they're successful, have quite a few followers. So just following them doesn't mean anything. Consistently engaging with their content will, in fact, make your presence known, right? Meaningful comments on posts. Don't just say, oh my gosh, beautiful. Because I get a lot of comments like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. And I'm like, I start to recognize people, but it doesn't actually make me feel connected to them in any way. I think it's super nice that they took the time to do that. And I super, super appreciate it. But it doesn't create any type of banter or relationship, or it doesn't make me learn anything about them. So if I'm asking a question like, oh my gosh, like here's a picture of a rainbow cookie, like do you think this is really a rainbow or do you think it's a fake rainbow? Like if I ask a question like that, engage with the actual question that I'm asking, because for me, I'm asking the question to get an answer, right? So again, just being super thoughtful and showing the person that you're actually engaging with their content and not just scrolling and kind of hoping to get some type of superficial answer. Replying to stories is a great way to engage because if you send a DM just out of the blue and you've never exchanged messages with someone, what happens is it goes in a request list, which is kind of like in your email spam. For me, I don't get a notification that I have a message request unless I'm actually in the app and I'm like actively checking. And I get, quite a few kind of spam messages. So sometimes it can get lost in there. So actually replying to a story that I post is the best way to get in my DMs, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. I'm happy to answer questions about how all that works. But starting a conversation via direct message is key. Like that is getting directly in touch with the person. Again, asking specific questions, not open-ended. Once the relationship is established, then you can ask to like do a collaboration post or a giveaway or, say, hey, I would love for you to hop on live with me. I'm, trying to expand my network. I would love to ask you some questions, and then be able to help that person out by giving them exposure to your audience. So again, it's all kind of relative to what your goals are and what you're looking to get out of the relationship. But I want you to feel like this is all really genuine and this is all coming from a place of, again, just trying to establish that sense of community. And if you get something out of it, great. If you learn from each other, great. Whatever you're looking to do, make sure you have that goal kind of in mind when you're engaging with these people. This is a great one to take a screenshot of or a picture. This would be a little bit more of a formal exercise when it comes to reaching out to someone in your local community, because more often than not, in this case, you're trying to network with someone to ask them to support you or ask them to give you exposure to their community or their client, right? So you're in essence asking for them to consider you as a business to work with. So it's a little bit more formal, and something to consider is direct message versus email. So I see two sides to the coin when it comes to this one. For me personally, because of how I have used my Instagram and what I've built on there, it's impressive, right? So I want that to be my first line of communication with people because I want them to see my Instagram. And again, this is not about my ego, or it doesn't say anything about me as a person. Like, I just want to I just want to pause and say that for a second. your amount of followers does not determine how good of a person you are, how good of a business person you are, how amazing your product is. It's literally a reflection of how much time, effort, and energy you have put into creating content and putting it on the platform. Okay, so it's important, but it's not a marker of your success as a person or as a business owner. So I hope that kind of settles some people's, minds. But for me personally, I've worked really hard to build that up. It's very impressive at this point. It gets a lot of reaction from people. So I'm going to use that to my advantage. And my first line of defense, my first line of contact is DM. It's Instagram. I want you to see how many followers I have. I want you to see my content. I want you to take in the experience that I've created online, which is my Instagram. Now, I don't always hear back via Instagram because of what I just said about the DMs kind of being this like black hole sometimes of messages. So I'll usually send a DM first and then I'll follow up with an email. And if I follow up with an email, I will usually reference that I sent them a message on Instagram. And kind of, I have in my email signature, I have all my social media as well. So social media has just become one of those things that we want to put in people's faces. So this would be an example of how I would approach a luxury kids event planner, which is really specific, right? I'm not saying this is the email I would send to everyone, but I recently did cookies for a 5-year-old little girl's birthday party, which I have a 5-year-old little girl, by the way, and I cannot relate to this situation at all. But this person, my client, hired a luxury kids event planner, and it was the person that I worked with to curate the designs. And she had a whole, not even Pinterest board, but an actual presentation that she sent me of all the other decor, the other desserts, and everything matched. And it was beautiful and it was wonderful. And so that's the person that I'm writing this email to, the head of that company. So I would say, hi, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Laura Luke, and I'm the cookie artist behind Butterfly Bakes ATL. So I'm immediately introducing myself as an individual because I'm the business, right? I'm not saying we, I'm saying me. I'm the cookie artist behind Butterfly Bakes ATL. So I'm already saying, it's not this little cute thing I'm doing. This is an established business. And again, fake it till you make it if you're just starting out, but be confident in who you are and what you represent. I'm going to describe what I am and what I do. I'm a licensed cottage food baker specializing in custom cookies for luxury birthday celebrations. Do I do baby showers? Yes. Do I do bridal showers? Yes. Do I do wedding showers? Yes. Do I do other things? Yes. But in this case, my specialty is luxury birthday celebrations because that's what she does. Your work is stunning, and I'd love nothing more than for my cookies to attend your fabulous events. So here I'm acknowledging what she does. I'm giving her a compliment. And I'm saying what I want out of this. I want my cookies at her events. So next is the most important thing, which is to give a specific actionable step. I'd love to bring by a set of cookies for you and your team to sample and enjoy. Does next Tuesday work for me to drop some by? Okay, so I'm not leaving any room for, oh, whenever you get a chance, if you want to check out what I do, that would be great. And if you know anybody, I love doing this. I'm keeping it really short and sweet, really actionable. I want to take the time and energy and resources to put together a beautiful, and if you do this, it needs to be put your best foot forward, do what you say you're going to do, be there when you say you're going to be there, don't flip flop, because this is a first impression situation. So I hope that helps, but that's all I had as far as slides. Emily, if there's any questions, or if you have any questions that you think other people would want to ask, I know we still have several minutes. So if you want to chat further, I'm happy to help.
Yes, absolutely. This is awesome. And I love the templates. Obviously we're recording this, so we will send out the recording with the slides afterwards. So You don't need to like be furiously scribbling
Yeah.
word for word. I know like that reminds me of like being in school, like, oh my God, don't switch the slide yet. I'm still writing.
And again, like make it your own, you know, use your own tone of voice, or you can copy what I did. But I think it's important to keep it short. And this is also what you could write in a DM as well. Like if I see a really long message, I'm just like, you know, and I even got one this morning. I think there were some good things about it, but there were also some things that could be improved upon. So I received a DM this morning from a local person that does meal prep service. Awesome. Like that is the person that I want to connect with, right? Because maybe we could do a collaboration. She could have one of my cookies in her little package. Like she could benefit me in a real way. But I do think she made a mistake, um, which was she expressed interest in buying some of my cookies, which I didn't like shut her down, but I told her very clearly, like, I make custom cookies, 2 dozen at a time. Like I don't just sell cookies where you can just pick one or two up. Now, had she said to me, I would love for you to try my meals. I want to drop off a few meals for you to try for free. You know, can I drop them off on Wednesday or whatever? I would have been like, oh my gosh, that is so nice. I would love to do that. I will definitely post, you know, my review or whatever to get you exposure. And in turn, I would have made her a few cookies. And all of a sudden, that would have been like so much more solid instead of, um, she just said, well, okay, great. You know, if you want to check out my meal service, there's a link in my profile. Like we just kind of lost the momentum there. And I'm not saying I won't check out her profile, but I'm just so busy and we're all so busy. If you don't get me on the first kind of opportunity, like you may never have that opportunity again. And I'm not saying she could totally like be watching this right now and be like, oh my gosh, I, you know, should have offered her a free meal. And it's not even about the cost, like it's not even about it being free, but it's more about like I'm going to take away any barrier to you getting my product in your hand. I've done that with influencers before. I've, you know, said, hey, I'd love to drop off some cookies for you if you would um, post. But again, be really clear about what you're asking for. Don't just say, I'm going to drop some cookies off. Again, part two to this slide would be following up afterwards. You know, ideally seeing them face to face in person. Maybe you don't need like a full meeting with them, but just, you know, graciously being like, hey, like I am personally bringing you these cookies. Because again, I think a lot of us use that, oh, this is what we do. Or again, if you're a we, that's amazing. But I'm an I, like it is me, myself, and I over here. So I want them to know that you're getting this email from me, from the person that's making your cookies. I am someone you can rely on. I'm a good time. Like you know, you want them to know you because this is you. So so yeah, I hope that can be kind of empowering for folks. And you know, once you get that, get their attention, you have to hold their attention. So
Yeah, I love that. Like when you're reaching out to someone to collaborate, you need to make it very clear what is in it for them first and foremost. Like whether we like to admit it or not, like that's what we care about. What's in it for me?
yes.
And you know, make it as easy as possible. Like don't say go to the link in my bio. Like we're used to doing that on Instagram because they make it as difficult as possible. But like if you're DMing, drop the link in the DM. Like, don't make
Yes.
me take an extra step to go to your bio. Like,
Yeah.
um,
Don't be a lazy networker.
yeah,
You know, you want to present it on a silver platter.
yep,
And you know, the same goes for people in the corporate world. You know, no one says, oh, we should go play golf sometime. You know, yeah. No, do you want a tea time on Tuesday? You know, I've got a spot on my tea time or whatever it may be. So this is nothing, you know, revolutionary, but I think as business owners, sometimes we have this block, like we think, oh, I'm not good with people, or I don't have enough Instagram followers, or there's so many excuses. And you kind of just have to, I don't know. I was so focused on growing Instagram because I was like, that's what people see first and foremost. And I just like saw so much, you get so much recognition by the numbers. And again, I kind of hate that because then it makes people feel like if they don't have that, then they're not good enough. And that's not true at all. But it's just this kind of social currency that we have now that people use and they're impressed by. So for whatever it's worth, there's that. But, you got to really be your biggest cheerleader. And I promise you, when you connect with the right people, they will be your cheerleaders, and they will provide opportunities for you. And then, like I said, hopefully the goal is that for it to become full circle where you can use your position to help other people. And that is so gratifying as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good, goal, dream state.
Yeah.
I'm curious, have you ever used your network to like collaborate with a local brand? This is kind of honestly a little bit similar to the meal prep example that you gave, but like even to have you partnered with a local business to like create a whole new product, like, you know, partnering with a coffee shop and being like, okay, I'm going to use some of your coffee in these cookies to do like a coffee cookie or something. Like, I don't know, that's
Gosh,
like a
no,
random example, but
I would, that's like, stuff like that is like on my bucket list now. And I think stuff like that, again, you're planting the seeds and then they will grow later on. I've met so many people here locally, and I'm in a big city, which you would think, oh, well, she's in a big city, it's easy for her. It's actually harder, I think, because there's so many people and you don't know who's really serious and who's not. And I haven't done something like that in particular, but there's a very successful cake artist here that is just amazing. And I consider her in my network because she does what I do. She's one person that is specialty in what she does. And she is very highly sought out. And I really saw her from the beginning and I was like, that's who I want to be, but the cookie version, truly. And she's actually become a friend. And she is someone that I have literally called in tears because I was upset about something that I had never encountered before. And she was able to talk me off the ledge. And she has been a huge support for me. She has promoted me on her social media. I've promoted her. We've I found out about a fundraising collaboration with local bakers here in Atlanta through her. And that was a huge undertaking of mine, but it was amazing because it also gave me exposure to 500 new people that I wouldn't have probably been exposed to before. So again, yeah, I think there's like so many cool opportunities to help each other. And again, it's like we're such a small network of people. Like most people don't order my product. Like most people like just buy Publix cupcakes for their kids' birthday parties, or I don't know, like buy something from Etsy for their wedding. Like most people don't think about, let me go to a cottage food baker for this specialty item. Yes, there's a need for it and there's a market for it, but it's not like top of mind, right? So networking becomes really vital for people like me that rely on my colleagues. Like if you're gonna actually, like that event, that the luxury kids event planner, my friend that does the cakes, her cake was there. So again, and this is 2.5 years in the making, where I knew about her cakes 2.5 years ago when I started, and all of a sudden now my cookies are at the same event as her cake. So again, just let that be like an example of what networking can do.
kind of in the same vein, would you approach reaching out to someone and like beginning that relationship? Would you approach it differently if they're like an individual, like another cottage food baker, versus if they're like an event planner who has like a whole business. I mean, both have businesses, but I think a lot of people think like, oh wow, like they're not just like a one person home-based business. They're like a business business. Like, do you consider them different, and would you approach networking with them differently?
I would, and with a business, I mean, even with an individual, I don't be afraid to ask, like, what's the best way to connect with you? And again, I like to give the example of offering to bring them your product, because again, I mean, all they have to say is yes, and then it happens, right? And then the follow up, don't ever leave the encounter without setting up a follow up. Like, oh, can I, um, let's see, what would you do? So you would drop off the cookies. You would say, I would love for you to try these, enjoy them. And then what's the best way for me to follow up with you? Could I come by on Friday to see what you thought? Or do you have a vendor list for your clients? Like, how do you look for vendors? Do you have any openings for vendors? Just be really direct with your questions, because they are operating a business. So they already have processes and procedures in place, and they may have a waiting list. I don't know, and that's the thing. People in cottage food go out of business all the time because life stuff happens. I'm not saying they go out of business, but even for me, like I may, when we moved to a new house, I had to take a few months off, right? So, maybe that could be an opportunity for someone else to get on a vendor list for somebody that normally comes to me. They that could be an opportunity for them. So don't be afraid to, don't be like, oh my gosh, I know they already use this person, and like that's like their go-to person, because something could happen, or maybe you offer something different that that other person doesn't. Like, for instance, I don't do character cookies, and a lot of people want them, right? So if I get a character cookie order, I know who to send them to. And that's me also, not just like helping people out of the goodness of my heart, it's providing good customer service to my customer, that maybe when they have a wedding or they have a bridal shower, they'll come to me. They won't just go to the other person I referred them to. So, yeah, I think always act professional, even if you're networking with like a colleague. It should still be professional. But yeah, I think when you enter like that business kind of mindset, I would just, it's kind of like dressing for a nice dinner. Like, you always want to dress a little bit nicer than you think you need to dress, because you don't want to be the least informal person there. I would say it's the same with networking. You always want to start out being a little bit more formal, but yet direct. Um, and then you can kind of take it down. Like, whenever I meet someone in person, I feel like that just, I can either connect with them or I can't. And so that kind of is the test. But be more formal and more like accommodating and all of those things when you're approaching someone. Because again, if I get someone that sends me a DM like, oh my gosh, I love everything you do, do you have any tips? I'm not kidding, people say this, and I'm like, I got a lot of tips. Am I going to just sit here and write you a novel of tips? No, because first of all, I don't know how really serious you are. You're clearly not serious enough to form an actual question, and I want to help people. I'm someone that wants to help people. I want to have that full circle moment of feeling like other people helped me and I can now, return the favor. But you got to start somewhere with me. You got to say, okay, I really want to start making reels. Um, do you have a resource that you could point me to, either on your Instagram or your work that you do with cast iron or something like that? So again, just the more specific you can be, the better. Because again, we're just trying to open that door. We're not trying to vomit out a bunch of questions so we can get all our questions answered. We want to have a relationship. We want to have, a back and forth.
Yeah. And, spacing out your questions and being really specific, it helps you keep the conversation going, right? Like, you can't, if you ask 5 questions all at once and just want the answers and to get out of there, like you're not setting yourself up for a real, ongoing, you're not building your network, right? You're just viewing it as transactional, which, whether you're trying to sell cookies or trying to land a corporate job, like that's just not the way to do it.
Yeah, it's like we've all been there, right? Like where you graduate from school and you got your resume all done and it's all pretty, and then you just start applying all these random jobs. I mean, most people get their jobs from referrals, from
Yep.
having an in somewhere, right? So that's part of the reason why we need to build a network, is because we need those people to connect us to the right people. So again, I think if we haven't driven it home enough, networking is super important, and social media is one way to do that. um there's many ways to do it, but social media in 2023 is, I think, the number one way to do it, and it's free.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, awesome, Laura. I think this is so helpful. Like, wow, what a power hour.
Yeah.
Any final like words or anything before we wrap this up?
Yeah. Find one person, and I'm happy to be that person, that can kind of be your mentor in this. And maybe it's a partner, like if it's your husband or somebody that you can kind of bounce ideas off of, because I think we all need that. And yeah, like feel free to take my example and use that, and tell me your success stories. Post your success story on the Cast Iron Kitchen Facebook community. That's also can be used as a networking community. I feel like people aren't using that community enough. People are using it to ask questions about the website, which is great, and that has its place. But y'all, that is literally the intimacy of that group. It's not a large group. Sugar Cookie Marketing is like 40,000 people at this point. There are other communities on Facebook, I'm sure, but y'all, these are our people. That is your community. Okay, so I'm going to post in there today and ask people how you network, and let's network with each other. Let's find each other. Find your person. Find someone who can be your accountability partner with networking. How many sample boxes did you send out this week? Did you follow up with them? Make it meaningful. And again, quality over quantity.
Yes, I love it. Please use the kitchen. I just dropped the link in the chat, so we love to see the conversations. I try to get some going here and there, but it's so much better when it's not coming from a marketer.
Oh, it's good. And it has to gain its own momentum. But yeah, I mean, that is like what's so amazing about Cast Iron, is we're all food entrepreneurs. So there you go. Like, again, you don't have to go searching on Instagram. It's all right there. And, people need to share their Instagram on there. I know it's on Facebook, which again, don't sleep on Facebook. Facebook is very active. And I get business from Facebook, and Facebook is a great networking tool. But yeah, like people need to not be shy about sharing what they do and who they are.
Totally.
Yeah. All
Perfect.
good.
That's awesome. Yes. Great. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. We will send out the recording of this afterwards. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to Laura on Instagram at Butterfly Bakes ATL. Message Cast Iron on Instagram, Cast Iron HQ. And of course, reach out to the Cast Iron team if you ever need anything. All right. Well, that's all we got for today. So thank you all for joining, and I hope you have a good afternoon.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Emily.